Guys, welcome to my stream. Guys, it's good to see you. But I tell you before we get started, right, guys, if you're not watching with intensity, you'll not be in my stream. Right? If you want to coast, you'll not be in my stream. You'll not be in my stream. That's going to take a long... I am, by the way, can I just make it perfectly clear? Like, right now, at this very moment in time, I am all for Mark Fotheringham staying at Celtic Football Club. I just want to make that perfectly clear. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is good to see you. We're going to be live for the next wee while. When I say wee while, I think I'm going to try and stay live for about an hour or so this afternoon. Just catching up on all things Celtic. I am far less hungover than I thought I would be after a wedding yesterday. I was through in Edinburgh, and it was fantastic. It was a great wedding, and somehow I have dodged the hangover. I feel, I'm not exactly perfect. I've never been... I'm not claiming to be one of those ones that says, "Oh, alcohol doesn't affect me," but somehow I'm here because I'm streaming with intensity. I tell you, if you want to coast, sorry, Adam's telling me to pack it in. We're going to talk about a few things today during this stream. As I said, we're going to be live for quite a while, catching up on any of the news that I missed yesterday. I'm going to be also catching up with the latest on the Celtic managerial hunt, and there's a lot to catch up on that. And also, final note to say is we're going to be talking about the fan survey results. I am getting some complaints about the microphone. I've turned it up a little bit. Let me know if that's... I don't want it to be crackly and poppy and like a bowl of fucking Rice Krispies. But we have so much to catch up on today, and that's why I want to do a bit of a longer stream. Just a bit of a chilled one, really. Where you guys can get involved, you can get talking, give me your questions and stuff like that. I'm looking forward to this one. So let's avoid the managerial chat for 5 minutes. I know you'll be thinking, what? Like, the club's in the pan and we need a manager and everything else. There is a huge statement that came out via Celtic today. Well, the statement itself isn't huge, but the attachment that comes alongside the statement is pretty massive. So I'm going to just switch over to my trusty share screen for a moment. Celtic have finally released in the past couple of hours. I'll say past couple of hours. It was actually at 11:30 this morning. At 11:30 this morning, Celtic finally released the results of the fan survey that was conducted a long time ago. Fan survey results that I firmly believe we would never have seen if we didn't chase them up about it. Now, I know that they're saying, and I know their excuses were like, it's because it takes so long to collate the information and prepare it, and we've got to put it through such and such and do this and that. I genuinely think this information would have just went, if Celtic were just doing well and going along, winning trophies, winning games, and there was nothing to worry about, I don't think we would have ever seen this report. I'm just being honest. That's just my opinion. I just don't think we would have seen it. But because of the shit show that has been Celtic Football Club over these past 4 months, I think that they have been forced into releasing this fan survey result today. So Celtic released that today. It says it was undertaken by almost 50,000 supporters worldwide and carried out with the support of the University of Strathclyde Business School. It has delivered a range of important information and insights which the club will use going forward. The statement itself just kind of goes over a lot of the things from the report, which we are going to open up and look at in a moment. But yeah, it's one that's caused a little bit of conversation and controversy online. There's some findings in that report which people are a little bit raging about and all the rest of it. Typically what happens in these situations, what you tend to find when results like this are shared, is you don't realise how many people within the support you actually disagree with. And that's not, listen, I know people think I'm alluding to maybe the section about certain chants being sung in the stands. I'm not alluding to any particular part here, and I'm not trying to say that I'm siding with a certain side on certain things here. What I'm just saying is, you might have an opinion that you think a lot of Celtic fans agree with, and that you think is a pretty widespread opinion. But then when something like this happens, you realise that potentially isn't the case. And you don't realise how many people in the support who don't really have a voice actually disagree with a lot of things. So we're going to have a look at the report. I'm going to switch it back over to the the attachment. Listen, can I just make one thing crystal clear? If I sat here looking at this full piece of information that was released today, I think that we would probably be here for hours. Like, this could take a long time. We have pages upon pages, 46 to be precise. 46 pages included in this report. And listen, we're not going to get over everything. So let's just dance over some of the highlights for now very quickly. And listen, you can bring up points that you want to bring up if you have them on your mind. Yeah, 50,000 responses, 84% male, 15% female. 84 of those people were between the ages of 18 and 64. Only 4% were in the younger age ticket group, and 13% were in the seniors. 88 of fans being based in the UK, only 5% in Ireland, and 7% overseas. Of course, Canada, America, Australia, countries with a prominent Celtic strongholds, you could say. Season ticket holder status. So this was the big thing. Only 19,700 responses were by season ticket holders. And that was it. So less than 20,000, which is a third of the stadium capacity. 20,000 season ticket holders, under 20,000, 17,000 UK match purchasers, 5,000 non-ticket purchasers, 900 hospitality. Ireland season ticket holders does take the total of season ticket holders up to over 20,000 mark, so you're talking roughly 20,000 with the Irish season ticket holders being accounted in. Yeah, so as I said, only about a third of the stadium, so keep that in mind when we go over a lot of things. Now, there is so much here that doesn't really matter in a grand scale. Like, honestly, my thoughts on the retail experience at Celtic don't merit a conversation. I'm not going to lie, I haven't really thought about the retail experience. What I will say is, I know a lot of cracking people that work at the Celtic stores and such, and even though I'm not putting another penny into them until February at least, I will give them credit for the jobs that they do, and the people who are just working their day by day, they should not be accounted for or affected as part of these surveys. They're doing their best, but I'm not going to talk about things like that. I'm not going to talk about the windfall. I'm not going to talk about a lot of the things that don't really matter. What I do want to talk about is the more important issues. So it has been split into 6 sections, and we're going to have a quick look over them now. So the North Stand has the highest representation of season ticket holders. 60% of season ticket holders would prefer not to have a digital version of their season ticket, which I'm actually kind of surprised with. So it looks as though that fans are trying to say, yeah, we want to keep our physical tickets for now, which I also want to keep my physical ticket. Now, I think the big thing that was talked about within the stadiums in match day was to do with the upheaval of certain seats to create a bigger standing section, and I can't find exactly where that section is right now on my screen, but there was something, I think the number was something roughly about 40% of supporters would be happy with moving if it meant increasing a standing section. So basically, let's put it this way, to bring in the like of the Celtic end, and that is what they're essentially alluding to. So there's about 40% of supporters apparently who would happily move their seat if it meant that they got a bigger standing section, and people who want to go in that standing section. Don't quote me verbatim on that until I actually find that exact piece of the statement. That's what I was saying, floating about online earlier. So yeah, that was one of the big things that came up. There was a lot of talk about catering, matchday experience and things, and a lot of people obviously saying that the matchday experience has to be better. The club have alluded to the fact they're going to try and improve on matchday experience and things like that. Away games was one of the big kind of controversies that came out of the statement, or sorry, the fan survey results. So what specifically needs to improve relating to away games? This is one of the ones that is doing the rounds on social media right now. Away supporter conduct could be improved when asked what is preventing them from attending away games and what would encourage them to attend away games. After data clearing, around 1,000 responses were obtained. The most common response suggests not singing abusive or sectarian or IRA songs. Other responses mention flares, drinking, smoking, and the Green Brigade. I'm not going to get started on to do with IRA chants and sectarian singing for a minute. It's very rare I hear sectarian chanting. I think if you actually look up, and this is the thing, around 1,000 responses, right? there is very little Celtic chants that I've sang in my life that are actually sectarian. There's a lot of people that don't know what sectarian actually means by definition. Singing a song in support of an Irish political group is not sectarian, depending on what one you're actually singing. There is, of course, I'm not denying there isn't chants that go round the stands that may include sectarian aspects. There's very little. There is very little. I'm not going to get started on the chanting such just now. I'm not turning this stream into talk about chanting. What I am annoyed about is stuff like people bringing up drinking, smoking, and all the rest of it. Nobody has the right to tell people what they can or can't do when heading to a game. And yes, I'm not condoning taking alcohol into the stadium. I'm not condoning smoking on the terraces. But as a man who enjoys a drink when going to an away game, and as a man who might sometimes partake in the taking of a cigarette, I would not allow somebody to tell me I can or can't smoke in a designated smoking area. I'm not going to condone the smoking in toilets or the drinking in the stadium. That's not for me to do. That would be unprofessional of me on this platform. But that's you can't say, oh, I'm not going to games because people are drinking. People aren't going to stop drinking for you. It's just not going to happen. And it's the same with like telling people what they can and can't sing. We live in a country where we're meant to pride ourselves on this existent free speech that we have. You can debate the legalities of it all and maybe the extent of free speech you have in this country. Once again, I'm not getting dragged into any political debate, but you can't tell someone they can or can't sing a song, especially if it's harmful. Sorry, not harmful, harmless. If it's harmful, you can. If it's harmless, And this is the thing. Away games, right? As somebody who gets to maybe 1 or 2 away games a year, very specific stadiums, the likes of McDiarmid Park and the Tony Macaroni, probably the only 2 grounds I can get to because of criteria. It's not chanting and drinking and smoking that's stopping anybody from going to away games. Listen, I don't care who disagrees with me here. I'm going to talk about facts. Like Rafa Benitez would, right? Let's talk about facts. David, you're right in the chat there, son. Let's talk about facts for a moment, right? Let's talk about facts. That isn't the reason you're not going to away games. The reason you're not going to away games is because you can't get a fucking ticket. It's nothing to do with chanting or smoking or drinking. If you could go to away games every week, you would go to them. But you can't because it's a closed shop. And I don't care about it being a closed shop. The people that go to away games, 90% of them deserve to be there because they've been going to them for years and they have built a criteria which has allowed them to be at the point where they can go to every away game. Right? It's nothing to do with the smoking. So it's only 1,000 responses. It's literally, it's a tiny, minuscule, tiny section of the 50,000 wider fans that were in this. And of course, you've also got to keep in mind that people would have filled this survey and aren't even Celtic supporters. But that was one of the ones that was doing the round. I wouldn't get bothered by 1,000 responses saying, you shouldn't be singing that song because it's hurty to my political views. Not everyone, listen, I think I made my political views perfectly clear on here, right? I am a staunch left-wing man, if you want me just to be honest with you, right? I'm not going to beat around the bush. I never have beat around the bush. I wouldn't hide the person that I am. I'm not one of these ones that shies away from talking about my politics, right? But listen, I'm not going to sit there and be annoyed that some people are, saying that it's bad. My dad isn't in favour of a lot of the IRA songs that are sang in the terraces. But it doesn't mean he thinks that I can't sing them or anybody else can't sing them if I were to choose to. So, yeah, that was one of the big things that came. 24% of people said that the encouragement of away games would be improved access to tickets. Now, of course, that is one of the bigger talking points that Celtic fans have had over these past few years, right? They've been talking about how that needs to improve the facilitating of tickets and how people can actually start building criteria. Listen, no matter what these results say, and no matter what you want to try and get away tickets, there's a very small chance that things are actually going to change. There is a very, very small chance. And I don't blame them for that. As I said, the majority of people who are, sitting there going to these games have been going for years. They have been going for, years upon years through thick and thin and have built a criteria, So there's not an easy fix for it. And especially when clubs are continuously cutting allocations It's just very, very difficult. So I wouldn't expect to see much change surrounding that. Those were kind of some of the big talking points. Apparently Celtic are going to look into improving their social medias and their communication with fans and just generally match the experience. There was a lot of findings that would take us hours to dissect. Now, some people did do us the favour of just like chat GPTing, and I don't condone the use of AI. I'm not an AI man. No, I'm joking. But like, a lot of people did just do us the favour of just being like, right, chat GPT, could you just summarise everything from this statement? And if we just look at one of those chat, just to finish off, and then we'll start talking about actual football and stuff to do with the manager and everything else, right? If we want to just use one of those as a kind of visual aid for the sake of the stream right now, here we go. If I just go onto Twitter very quickly and find, here we go. Save us all some time just dancing through it. If I can open my, hold on, let me go full screen here. If we go open the back up, I love that Buick's just talking in the chat. What a time to be alive. Lads, we need to get Buick back on the streams, don't we? We need to get him back. Here are the takeaways from the fan survey. Club engagement is average. Some significant amount of people rate it as poor, including myself. I think it's very, very poor. A substantial majority of supporters want a formal fan advisory board to be set up, like a fans forum, because they're better than the traditional fans forum because they're not effective. Care about topics include match day experience, season ticket matters, stadium expansion, standing sections, and a club's strategic vision. A lot of the things we've already spoken about. Thank you to, by the way, only our rivers run free, by the way, for this. The club's delay and so frustrations. A lot of talk about fan frustrations and stuff like that. Yeah. That, and then the Celtic end was obviously a big topic of conversation. It's 46 pages of absolute nonsense, really. It's a long-winded way of saying, here are the things that we want to improve and we want to do better. Will we do them? Probably not. So, yeah, it was. We'll talk about it more in depth as the weeks and the months go by, and we'll see what the club actually act on. I think that there's no point in talking about, you know, I don't think there's a point talking about what can or can't change until that change happens. So when I start seeing things acted upon within this survey, within this statement, then I'll start talking about them more seriously. So if the Celtic come out and say, we are looking into expanding the standing section, that's when I'll start talking about the expansion of the standing section. When we start improving on our communication with the supporters, that's when I'll start talking about the communication improving with supporters. So, yeah, that's about it for the fan survey findings this afternoon. For me, if you've got anything you want to... As I told you, it's going to be a long stream this afternoon. We're going to be here for the next hour or so. A lot of Buick love in the chat as well. We're going to be here for about an hour, maybe even longer than an hour. I'm going to see Back to the Future tonight. Happy Halloween, everybody. But until then, I've not got much else on. I thought it would be nice to catch up. One last thing in relation to the survey, before we move on, actually, because I need to bring this up as a proud member of the Celtic Fans Collective. There was a statement issued by the group as well, off the back of that survey finding being published this afternoon. We welcome the release of the long-awaited fan survey results today, where we take time to evaluate the findings. We welcome the club's commitment to act on the feedback received by supporters. This is an encouraging step towards genuine fan engagement and transparency, but this is merely the beginning. We hope this process leads to a regular, open consultation and decisions that reflect the passion, values and ambitions of the Celtic support. To build on this progress, we urge the club to move swiftly to establish a democratic and a representative fan advisory board that will strengthen communication and collaboration with supporters for the benefit of all. So hopefully we see the establishment of a fan advisory board between both the club and the supporters, of course, in the coming months. Whether they are willing to act upon that, we'll wait and see. But yeah, a good statement, a well-written statement, as always. And of course, here on the Ryan 118 channel, I fully back that notion. Right, football. Chat and football. Who will be the next Celtic manager? Do you know what I need? Do you know what I wish I could do here? I wish I had, like... Does anybody familiar with Colin Coyard? The American sports presenter who does a radio show on Fox. I watch him every day. He's my guy for keeping up with American sports news, right? And he's got a lovely setup where it's just like him talking absolute shite, and then his wee partner, his wee crony across the room who just chips in every 5 minutes to try and pull him up about something, and then he just cuts him off anyway. Get Buick in the room and do that. Right, let's talk about Celtic. Let's talk about the managerial situation. How are the current odds looking? According to Bet365, this is how things stand. Kieran McKenna still the favourite for the job, despite distancing himself. It's time for the herd hierarchy. Kieran McKenna still the favourite for the job, despite publicly distancing himself on his press conference the other night. And I think a lot's been taken from that statement. That press conference. If anything, it gave me a bit of... I kind of left that press conference going, I think he might be next Celtic manager. Of course, people are going, oh, that's him. It's not going to be him. It's not going to be him. It's not going to be him. Of course he's not going to sit there and go like, oh, I am interested, I want the job. Of course he's not. But I didn't rule it out. And that's why he's still the favourite according to the bookies. Postecoglou is still at 9-2, despite the fact it's been reported that Celtic will not be acting on any interest in Ange Postecoglou. Allegedly, take that with a pinch of salt, but he's still 92, alongside Martin O'Neill, who has shot up the odds. Martin O'Neill is somebody who I could genuinely see getting it to the end of the season if Nicky Hyen or Kieran McKenna both say no. I have a feeling it could happen. It shouldn't happen, but it might. Wilfred Nancy's jumped up to 6-1, who was also publicly speaking about the Celtic job at his last presser. And the more I do reading about Wilfred Nancy, the more intriguing I find it. I kind of like the Wilfred Nancy shout in a perverse sort of way. So I'm not ruling out my support of Wilfred Nancy if he got the job. Robbie Keane at 13-2, Lee Carsley still in there, Nicky Hyen down at 10-1 alongside Bellamy, who's fallen to 11-1. I think he was, maybe 7 or 8 beforehand. Yeah, thank you to Elijah for becoming a member of the 118 Club. And can everybody in the chat say a huge thank you to Cami, who has just dished out 5 channel memberships. They went out to Joe, Pepsi Max, Sean, and Brooklyn, and TJ. So congrats for picking up them. Everybody, a huge thank you to Cami, and thank you, Cami, for supporting the channel as always. You're an absolute legend. You've been here from the start as the memberships, and your support is appreciated. Also, great time to have a channel membership, because Football Manager is released fully this week, coming up next week, I should say. And even though I'll be in Denmark for the Michelin game, when I'm back, we will be bashing FM on the live streams. We will be there. So, good time to be a channel member, and thank you to Cami. Yeah, this is the list. Kevin Muscat still in there at 12-1. There's absolutely no chance. It would be ridiculous to put your money on it. Listen, the list isn't aesthetically pleasing. And if I go through all of these very quickly, McKenna, Ange, yes and yes. Knutson, of course, yes. Hyen, yes. Absolutely not Robbie Keane. Lee Carsley, no. Bellamy, I made a video talking about, I think we could do worse, but no. It's not an attractive list, to say the least, and I'm hoping that we act upon a few of these as soon as possible. McKenna being the strongest of the candidates, I think. But that's how it's standing right now. Thank you to Andrew, who says, and thank you for the donation, is that Mexican dollars? Is that Mexican dollars? Is that that's nuts? I've never seen somebody donate Mexican dollars. Thank you. I'd like Nicky Hyen myself. Up the sales. That's it, son. Thank you, Andrew, for the donation. You're a legend. And I would love Nicky Hyen. I think he's one of my shouts for the job. One of my stronger shouts for the job as well. Yes, if you could press that like button, that'd be massive. So let's just have a look over the kind of recent updates. And then I just want to get to chatting for the next kind of 45 minutes or hour or so, as long as I'm on. Mexican pesos. Ah, yes, of course, that's right. I should know that, Andrew. I should know that. That was silly of me, Mexican dollars. It's just the dollar sign threw me off, So there is reports coming out about Nancy, Hyen, McKenna, chat and talk about them in particular. McKenna has shit myself there. I've got my fucking speakers on and I nearly shat my pants. The big house must stay open. Thank you for all the donations, guys. It is appreciated. Kieran McKenna basically said that he is a Celtic fan and the job is not on his radar at this moment in time. Famous last words of every manager who ends up moving on. I mean, it just reminds you of Gerrard, doesn't it? Do I look happy? Do I look settled? Don't ask silly questions then. You know, it just brings that back. But he did say he's not kind of interested at this moment in time. Wilfred Nancy was asked about it on his press conference and said, I have nothing to say regarding the links. We have a game to play. I have nothing to say regarding that situation. It happens a lot with a lot of humidity, so I cannot comment on any rumours. Of course, in charge of Columbus Crew in the MLS right now. He distanced himself. And for Nicky Hyen, apparently a couple of hurdles have arisen. So Brugge, Adam, thank you. Huge thank you to Adam for the 5 memberships. And well done to Tommy, Connor, Brian, Mr. Squeak and Espy who have picked them up. If you could give a huge thank you to Adam in the chat for the membership donations. Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. You're an absolute legend and you know that. Nicky Hyen. Demand a mega compensation. This is the reportings of the Daily Record this afternoon in relation to Nicky Hyen. Brugge will demand a mega compensation fee to allow boss Nicky Hyen to... Yes, humidity. I know humidity was the word that he used. It was very... I think he meant humility. Unless he's just not up for the clammy summers that you can sometimes get here. I don't know. Anyway, just to go back to what I was saying about Nicky Hyen. Club Brugge will demand a mega compensation fee to allow boss Nicky Hyen to join Celtic with a massive salary required to, quote-unquote, tempt the boss. Hyen has refused to rule out becoming the next Celtic manager after reports of a concrete interest from the Celtic side. So, yeah, compensation is the huge one. And then, of course, the bigger stumbling block for me beyond compensation is the fact that you are in a really good situation at Brugge right now, right? You are in a great situation. Your Champions League, you're competing for a league title, and yes, you can come to Celtic and compete for a league title, but you're competing for a league title, you're being backed very well, and making waves around the continent. I just don't think that leaving Celtic is, even though Celtic are a huge club in comparison to Brugge, who aren't a minuscule club or a small club by any stretch, but Celtic obviously certainly bigger, I just don't think makes an awful lot of sense. So, I'm listening, I'm hopeful. I mean, the fact that we've not heard anything saying no, absolutely not, is pretty impressive. So, yeah, there you go. That's that. As it stands, McKenna has ruled himself out of it, but hasn't. I'm not going to get drawn into that. Nancy, not kind of ruling himself out of the running either, and I'm growing on the shouts of Wilfred Nancy, to be quite honest, but Nicky Hyen, of course, the big one right now that's getting spoken about, and that's kind of the most latest updates we have in relation to the managerial decision. Martin O'Neill will still be in charge on Sunday, and I assume that he will remain in charge throughout the entirety of this phase of the season until the next international break. I really don't see Celtic making an appointment until that next international break. I don't. And I think that's when we'll hopefully have somebody through the door. So let's enjoy Martin while he's still here and he's here in the door. And yes, as McLaughlin P says in the chat, it is a standard response for a manager under contract. There's no way Kieran McKenna would sit up on that stage and go, yeah, I want that. It just doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. So yeah, let's get chatting. Let's talk about things. David's saying a Celtic YouTube channel should be discussing the big game tonight between former club captains. It's a huge one tonight in the Championship. BBC, isn't it? Live on TV. I mean, that is a huge game. I can't watch it because I'm waiting to see Back to the Future. But I would be watching it if I wasn't. And hopefully the Pars get a result. I actually kind of want Neil Lennon to suffer. Saw some Ipswich fans saying McKenna at Celtic was at best a sideways step. Total gimp. Yeah, I mean, listen, I see there's a lot of Ipswich fans genuinely worried that he could be off. And that's what that is. Right, let's get the chat going then. Let's talk to you guys for the next half hour or so. Let's have a bit of a fun time. Let's say that. Could you imagine the PTSD Rangers fans would get if we got Nicky Hyen? Yeah, that must be a terrifying prospect to an extent. And I know they would try and play it off nonchalant. Quite like unbothered, but he really hurt them. Now, was it 9-0 in aggregate? Yeah, that's something you think about. You think about that. It's just a shame that it won't be high in the dugout on Sunday. Well, we've got Martin Neal. Oh, Martin Neal! Brilliant content, by the way, seeing him on the sidelines jumping the way he used to. Am I not going trick-or-treating? No, I'm not. I'm not. Halloween used to be like my favourite night out. We always used to go out, me and my mates, on Halloween. It was like clockwork. But we haven't done it 2 years in a row now, and I'm actually quite gutted about that. I think Addy Hooter would be a good shout. I doubt we'll look at him, but what's your thoughts, Ryan? Funnily enough, we were talking about Addy Hooter in the chat the other day in our group chat, and I was saying that I don't think he's a bad suggestion either, because people are very quick to go, oh, Marco Rose, and I'm like, guys, Marco Rose hasn't done much in a few years. Like, he's not been great. It's not 2019 anymore. Addy Hooter is a better manager than Marco Rose, in my opinion. Listen, I've been tuned out of the Bundesliga for the last couple of years because I just generally haven't been enjoying football outside of Celtic for the last couple of years. But when I was very much into the Bundesliga, I really liked Addy Hooter. The biggest problem is you cannot imagine having a manager at Celtic with the name Adolf Hooter. That's slander names will go too far. And that's the only thing I have there. But I don't think it's a terrible suggestion, but there's been no mention of his name at all, which means he's certainly not being looked at by the club, and I think, we all think that. Put your political views aside, why not Robbie Keane? Simply put, I can't put my political opinions aside. This is the one and only time I'm going to talk about Robbie Keane, and I'm going to make it crystal clear. I do not want Robbie Keane as Celtic manager. I am actively against Robbie Keane as Celtic manager. And I will stand with the thousands of fans who are also against the thought of Robbie Keane as manager. I'm not telling you what you should or shouldn't think. If you're fine with Robbie Keane as a serious suggestion for the Celtic job, cool, okay. But I would be certainly disappointed, And I don't have anything else to add on that matter. I don't. So there you go. Let's see. What else have we got? Added to the fact he's a rotten manager. Good points from Aaron there in the chat, by the way. Let's move on. Let's keep the stream going, and let's keep things going. Because some people just don't care, So I'm not going to sit and spend all stream talking about it. And I don't think he's going to get the job anyway, so it doesn't fucking matter, The Bodo Glimt manager said he will leave after the last Champions League stage match. He doesn't want a top 5 league. Did he say that? Did he? Michael winding me up in the chat. I would need the proof that he said that. I haven't seen quotes that suggest that. Would be delighted with Knutson or Hyen, happy with McKenna or Ange, intrigued by Nancy, and very disappointed with Keane, Carsley or Bellamy. A very good summary from Jack there, summing up his thoughts. Swimmingly. That's all I can say, Jack. Good suggestions and good summary of the situation. I think I'm in agreement with all of that, really. I think that I could get behind Bellamy. I'll get behind whoever gets the job, apart from the one that I've just had a very open rant about. But I'll get behind everybody, because they're the Celtic manager at the end of the day. But Bellamy is one that I would be disappointed with, but I will give it a fair shot. Colo Toure, has he done anything in management lately? The last thing I can remember him doing in management was getting sacked at Wigan after about 6 games. So, yeah. That's that. Can't wait for more Fozzie ball on Sunday. Pure intensity with no coasting. Guys, listen. If you want to coast, you'll no be in my stream. If you're no commenting with intensity, you'll no be in my stream. Simple as that. Thank you to Andrew for another 20 Mexican pesos. Who would you be most disappointed by, Ryan? That is a good question. Let me get up the Bet365 odds again. Cute. Connor, alright Ryan, what's your favourite music contract? Alright Ryan, what is your favourite music contract? You've been, my was a 1975 or Oasis or Taylor Swift contract? Did you mean artist? Is it like auto-corrected? Mine's is the Beatles. I love all three that you've suggested there though. I love the 75, I love Taylor Swift, and I love Oasis. I love all of them. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of all of them. Right. Andrew, back to Andrew's point, because that's a really good question. Who would I be most disappointed with? Here is the full list of offers you can get on Bet365. This is the full concert. You've been right. That makes a lot more sense. My favourite concert I've ever been to. Luke Combs and the Hydro's up there. Drake. I've been to Drake twice, and they were both fantastic. I wish I could. I was meant to see the 1975, but I had no one to go with, so I sold my ticket. Yeah, maybe Luke Combs. I've been to a lot of good concerts. It's hard to pick. Kasabian in the O2 was fantastic. Love that. Good question. I like when we change it up a wee bit. This is one of these chilled streams, you know. Here's my the list of people. Who would I be most disappointed with? Kieran McKenna, Ange Postecoglou, Martin O'Neill, Wilfred Nancy, Robbie Keane, Lee Carsley, Nicky Hine, Craig Bellamy, Newton and Muscat we've all spoke about. I mean, some of them you've got to be realistic about. Like, I would be disappointed with 40-1 Jim Goodwin. It's not going to be Jim Goodwin. You know, so there's no point in going, oh, that's who I'd be most disappointed with, because he's just not going to get the job. Out of the realistic shouts, who I'd be most disappointed with, I mean, Robbie Keane. Christ, not getting dragged back into that. Apart from that, I think I'd be really, I don't know if the word's disappointed, but I'd be really underwhelmed with Lee Carsley, who seems to be, 8-1, decent odds. I just really, all I think about when I hear Lee Carsley is his interim spell in charge of England. So Lee Carsley is up there. Hold on 2 seconds. I don't know. Who would I be most disappointed with? I'm laughing at Aaron's comment. I don't know. I mean, it's Keane. Steve Clark. I'd be very disappointed with that. Once again, not going to happen. Yeah. I think that's Keane. That is the answer for me. That's the answer. Simple as that. Done there. Darren Fletcher, why is he there? Has he even managed anyone? No, I think he's only coached at United. I don't think he's actually stepped into management yet. So a 20-1 shot there. I mean, if you can't see some of them because my webcam's covering it up, but it's funny seeing like Marco Silva. Marco Silva in there at 50-1. Like, this not going to happen, is it? Marco Silva at Fulham in the Premier League. I like Marco Silva, but just not going to happen. Yeah, Mark Wilson is up there at 50-1. Once again, never going to be him, but I'd be very disappointed if it was Mark Wilson. So yeah, that's essentially my thoughts. Sorry, I've not. Keane. Any of the Keanes. Roy Keane. It's the name Keane that I have a problem with. No, I'm joking. There, that's that. Thank you to Matthew Barry. 1-1 later. Ryan 1-1 later. Is that meant to be... I'm scared that LER's meant to be something else. Yeah, simple as that. Right, let's keep going. I said I'd go live for about an hour, and we're about 43 minutes in, so we've still got a lot of time to chat and do things. I thought this would be better than just doing a video this afternoon, because there is so much. I think one of the things we haven't even actually touched on in this stream, which we probably should talk about very, very quickly, is the press conference this afternoon. Martin O'Neill, of course, sat down, done his presser ahead of the game against Rangers at the weekend, and more laughs, more sarcasm. You can tell that he is just enjoying his time here and not taking the press conferences all too seriously, which I adore, to be quite honest with you, because you know what, these press conferences can be stale and a bit annoying. So yeah, I really, really, really don't think there was too much to pick up on from the press conference, if I'm being quite honest. Everything kind of remains the same. There was an interesting picture from Lennoxtown today where Kasper Schmeichel wasn't in training gear. He was standing alongside Mark Fotheringham, which might indicate that Mark O'Neill will stick to keeping Sinisal as the cup keeper and play him on Sunday, which I'm absolutely okay with and actually want to happen. Yeah, I think that is that's that, really. I mean, there was no huge, massive update from the press conference. It's not like we got this... We didn't get anything saying like, oh, somebody's injured or somebody's fine and ready to go that we didn't already know was injured or fine or ready to go. So, I mean, we saw Dyson return on Wednesday. So there's not much to explore from the press conference, in all honesty. Thank you to Adam for the donation, mate. You're a legend. How was the wedding? It was fantastic. It was a great night. We were in the caves in Edinburgh. And even though I fucking hate Edinburgh, not a good day for me. There you go. I'm going to get accused of being an Edinburgh racist now. Even though I hate Edinburgh, I had a fantastic night. It was good. It's always, if a wedding's always fun, isn't it? A wedding's always good. So yeah, I enjoyed it. And thank you for the donation. He wasn't training with intensity. He was stuffing his face with intensity. A lot of talk about intensity, I agree with that as well, Sugar Man. That general assessment of both of those candidates, of Keane and Bellamy, both brilliant players, fantastic players, and both served the club in the short terms really, really well. But no, I don't think that I don't think they're ready to manage this side at all. No, it wasn't Kido's wedding. It was Kido's brother. God, Kido's wedding will be I won't be dressed in a wee purple suit there. That's the big shot, Hi Ryan, I'm from Edinburgh. I'm sorry to offend you, Chuck, but I fucking hate it. I'm too Glaswegian. I often refer to the video of Billy Connolly. I have descended into hell. Some people call it Edinburgh. That's my thoughts exactly. One thing you'll realise about Edinburgh is there's an awful lot of fucking stairs. Aye. Edinburgh's full of fascists anyway. Christ almighty. Some accusation to make there. What would you do if Ten Hag was the Celtic manager? Asks Sophia. I listen. I think there's a lot of problems with Ten Hag, as there is with basically any candidate. I'd be quite happy with Ten Hag. I think he's a good coach. The Leverkusen stuff is pretty. That's a bit off-putting. But what he done at Manchester United fell apart towards the end, but as it often does with anybody at Manchester United, to be quite honest, and the squad is pretty arse that he had. And yeah, listen, it wouldn't be my number one candidate, but I would get behind an Eric Ten Hag appointment, to be honest. I'd get behind that. Why do I hate Edinburgh? Don't know, just too Glaswegian. Don't know. It's not that I hate it, I'm joking. When I say I hate Edinburgh, I don't actually hate it. I do hate it. I don't know. It's not got the same charm as Glasgow. It's not got the character, Doesn't have the same oomph to it. Glasgow's full of soul. I mean, Glasgow is fucking pish nowadays, right? But, all the pubs are shutting and all the clubs are shutting and all the fucking nightlife is basically non-existent. But Glasgow's just better. Hence, I mean, I'm going to say that. I'd say the same about Edinburgh or Glasgow if I was for Edinburgh, What's worse, Edinburgh or Fife? Never been to Fife. Believe it or not. So, by default, it has to be Edinburgh, Matthew. Good, Chuck. I'm glad you love us. I don't like when I say I hate Edinburgh, it's just me being a fucking typical Ouija bam. It's I don't actually hate it. It's a lovely. The thing is, Edinburgh's gorgeous. It's like a lovely city, and it's very nice in the eye. I just don't think it's the same charm as Glasgow. That's all. Really, Rafa Benitez. I think he's just took the Panathinaikos job. I think so. Anyway, we want a young manager with European experience. It's very. This is the thing. When we see that, I agree. I would love a young manager with European experience. But when you start filtering down the options, it's hard to find a realistic young manager who's got European experience. I think Nicky Hyen probably fits that mold quite quickly. I mean, he's not young, but he's certainly not old either. It's hard to when you start filtering it. It gets really, really difficult. Like if you want a young manager, they're probably not going to have a lot of European experience. If you want a manager with European experience, probably not very young. So it's hard. It's hard to make it work. What about Ralph Hasenhüttl? Not a name that I've heard mentioned at all yet. I like Ralph Hasenhüttl. I always have. But he's not covered himself in glory these past few years. He was, battered 9-0 twice, and yeah, I would. It'd be a bit underwhelming. I think he's not exactly had major success or anything along the likes to suggest that he should be Celtic manager. But I think once again there are far worse options. A lot of these names that get suggested, like Ten Hag and like Hasenhüttl and like Adi Hütter and guys like that, is the fact that these are people who I've lost my train of thought of what I was going to say in all honesty. No, these are people that I think that you just can simply say there's a lot worse, because there is a lot worse. There's a lot worse than that. Who do you think would do the best in Europe out of Hyen, Knutsen and Ange? That's really what I'm most focused on. I think in that order, Hyen, Knutsen, Ange. I think if I'm being, this is, people are going to hate me saying this, I'm pissing off a lot of people, it seems, today. I don't think we would progress very much in Europe with Ange, to be quite honest. I think if you bring him back, you're sacrificing a lot of European progression for the style of football that you're getting. I know people go, he won the Europa League with Spurs. Yes, I know he won the Europa League with Spurs. He's not got a Spurs squad at Celtic. and that's why I think he would be third out of the three. It's a good question, though, from Jarvis. Jarvis, shoot me. Thank you to Hazel Gaming for becoming a supporter of the channel. I appreciate it. Thank you, Green Ninja, for the £2 donation, saying, I'm from Fife, and it is shit, like Man United. That was a unnecessary dig there at the end from Green Ninja. But then again, you're from Fife, so you don't find a lot of joy. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Me run for the Celtic job. No, I think I'm overqualified, actually. I think you'll find I've won the Europa League with Celtic a number of times in Football Manager. I'm overqualified. I'm overqualified for the job. Ryan, your hatred for Greek Australians is really shining through here. Yep, hate them as well. I hate everybody. I just hate everybody. I hate everybody that isn't specky Glaswegian and called Ryan. So well done if you're a specky Glaswegian called Ryan. You've done well. I bet you there's at least one in the chat. Ryan, hello, how are you doing? Hi Ryan, I think if we win every game until the next international break, they will give it to Maloney till the end of the season. It's an easy option for them, unfortunately. Ryan, I certainly don't disagree with you. I think there's a chance of it. I do. I mean, I would be absolutely fucking disgraced, and I would be so angry. But I would not be stunned by it in the slightest. I know people will go, oh, but I'm not. Let's not fall into that trap. Let's not. I don't care if we win every game, like 10-0 between now and the next international break. Well, maybe that's a bit different, but I don't care if we win every game between now and the international break. We should not be given the job to Sean Maloney. We've been here. We've done this before with Neil Francis Lennon. Somebody shouting new Celtic statement. Don't wind me up with these things. Oh wait, hold on. There is actually something that has came out from Celtic, but it's not like, oh, we're getting a stadium makeover. Whoa, big news. And Trish Stratus has just popped up on my Twitter feed, so I'm buzzing. If you know, you know. There's a statement. The club have just literally released a statement. I mean, this actually came out at 3. It was wrote at 3:10. The club have released the statement. Celtic supporters and legends honoured in striking new stadium makeover. Preparations are now underway for the new stadium banners at Celtic Park, with the previous banners being removed in the next few days. We are pleased to share details of the striking new banners, which will provide a fantastic new makeover for the stadium and celebrate legendary players as well as the incredible Celtic support, without whom our achievements would not be possible. The club's record-breaking 8 trebles are showcased through key players and iconic moments from each winning season, like the likes of Larsson, Rogic and McGregor adorning the huge banners surrounding around the southwest corner of Celtic Park. At the opposite side of the stadium, we honour the most successful season ever in Celtic's history, 1966-67 squad, named alongside their unique achievements, securing all 5 trophies it contested in that season. The 1967 crest is highlighted next to a panel inspired by the pennant exchanged before kick-off at the Estadio Nacional on that magical night in Lisbon. The crowning glory in a season never to be forgotten. So this is what we're getting. The new Celtic Park banners, a big lengthy statement. So this is a sneak oh, here we go. So this will be round at the... Is that my side? Is this... Oh, this is the Lisbon Lions end, of course. Like the Lisbon Lions stand. So it will have every Lisbon Lion. And then we're getting... Yes, they're bringing it back. Finally. I don't know why they ever got rid of, like, the achievements. I see that Brendan Rodgers isn't going to be included anywhere. But they're bringing it back. Like, oh, so it's going to be all the trebles round the panels of the stadium. But I liked it when we had the kind of historic moments and historic seasons. So you can see obviously all the trebles, 68, 69, 2000, 2001, the invincible treble, which has been highlighted in gold, 17, 18, 18, 19, and then of course we'll have the other one. And then round, my side's a bit shit. That's a bit pish. Is that what we're getting round at my fucking end of the stadium? That's mince. I mean, good if you're on it right enough. I mean, you must be buzzing if you can find yourself upside pish. I love everything else, though. These are all nice. Beautiful, gorgeous, stunning, pish. I really like this. I love that there. Like, that badge We need to get that on a kit. Like, if Adidas want to make up for all the wrongdoings of the terrible kits that we've had since becoming our kit manufacturer, get that badge on a fucking kit. You know? That's what we need. We need that on a kit. I love that. Thank you, Mark, for the donation. It's good to see. It's our weekend. I bloody hope so. I hope so. There you go. That's round there. And then we keep going. We have the continuation of our, honours and trophies. Quote from Jockstein: "Cups are not won by individuals, but by men in a team who put their club before personal prestige." Then obviously this is the quadruple that we won in the 66-67 season, which is kind of being honoured round there. Yeah, there you go. That's the done it. They're certainly trying to act on a lot of the criticisms that we have had, Yeah, as I look forward to the 60th anniversary of the club's greatest ever achievement, the immortal starting 11, yada 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 yada. There we go. Nice. Very nice. That was an unexpected statement to get dropped live on air. As I said, I love all of it, bar what I'm getting at my side of the stadium. I think that's a bit boring. I would have rather had, legends. I'd have rather had, if we had, the Lisbon Lions over at this side, right? I would have rather had, cult figures. I'd have rather had, cult figures around here rather than just this. I would have had, if it was me, I'd have had, Scott Brown and Paul McStay and, I don't know, Shinsuke Nakamura, things like that. I would have really liked that. But it's nice. It was needed. We needed a top. We needed a freshen up. And I like it. They're finally fixing up the outside of the stadium a little bit. Now hopefully they do a lot of other areas of the stadium which are in desperate need of repair and replenishment, or whatever the word is that you want to use. There you go. That was an unexpected statement to get on stream. Yeah. Right, let's finish up with a few questions and such. You hate Celtic fans too now, right? Yep, told you, I'm full of hate. I hate everybody. I hate absolutely everybody. Aye. Right, let's get this statement isn't ambitious enough, says Michael McDonald. Right, let's finish off with a few points and a few things, and yeah, let's do that, shall we? I heard one of the wallpapers is going to be a picture of the Dermot Desmond statement. He'll have that framed in the fucking executives boardroom box or whatever they call it. Have you seen the rumours of Dermot Desmond having a clear out of the board? Yes, I think we've all seen those rumours, and I can't possibly comment on the validity of them. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. I think we've all heard the rumours that there could be a new chairman coming in very soon. We could be ushering in and ushering out a certain chairman. And there's obviously been a lot of rumours about, what do you call it? I'm still hungover. The CEO as well. But I couldn't possibly comment on the validity of them all. I mean, we were obviously asking for that change anyway. So, yeah. 118 out, says Matthew Keegan. Is Rodgers really attending the semi-final? I mean, I know I like Rodgers, and I know I've been his number one fan over the years, right? But I don't know if he's going to make the game or not. Apparently he is, which I think is nuts. And do you know what? Fair fucks to him. He's got to support his team. This was his cup semi-final that, sadly, he didn't get to see through. I say sadly. I know some people aren't. I don't mean sadly as in I wish it was him on Sunday. I just mean that, he'll probably be gutted that he doesn't get that opportunity. So, yeah. AGM is due. Prime time to announce. Yep, that's it. This is it. Don't let them fool you with things like this. These wee things right before an AGM. Don't let them fool you. Don't let them fool you. Aye. Right, we're at the hour mark. I'm going to go off. I'm going to get my dinner, and I'm going to go and see Back to the Future. I've had a great stream, despite the attempt on my name. Earlier in the stream, if you were here, you'll know. Probably going to just cut out that whole section now before people try and give me the Corbyn treatment. Yeah, thank you for tuning in. It's been a great stream. We'll probably stream some more over the next few days. Of course, as breaking news kind of comes to us, I'll probably stream before the Rangers game as well to do a kind of lineup reaction and stuff like that. So, yeah, there we go.
That's that. Right.